us, and we will answer any questions you guys might have at the end of the presentation. So let's get moving on. All right. So what's happening is we're looking at a historic early season winter storm. It's a very unusual storm that we're looking at as far as temperatures go, snowfall potential goes, wind goes. So specifically, what are we looking at? We're looking at a storm developing. It's going to bring historically cold temperatures for late September. It looks like we could see moderate to heavy snow amounts in the mountains especially, and in the valleys we're going to see a mix of rain and snow. Whether or not it's going to accumulate in the valleys, it's hard to tell, but we don't expect that'll be the main story. We are going to look at brisk north to northeast winds, possibly gusting from 40 to 50 miles per hour, and obviously we might see some troubles with that. And we're also going to see widespread freezing temperatures develop. So where is this going to happen? We expect it to occur over all of the inland northwest. And when? We expect to see the beginnings of it as early as Friday night, with this cold weather continuing through Sunday. Really, we could actually see cold temperatures continuing through Monday. But as far as the main threat for the strong winds, that'll mainly be a Saturday into Sunday feature. For the heaviest snow, that would mainly be Friday night into Saturday for the mountains. Valley accumulations will be possible, we call it Saturday night into early Sunday morning, but again, I don't think that's going to be the main story. And for the potentially dangerous and unusual cold, that will be any time from Saturday through Monday. So starting off, what sort of temperatures are we looking at? Well, today it's awfully nice across the inland northwest. We're seeing temperatures in the mid-60s to mid-70s across the region. But you'll notice on these graphs here that those temperatures fall anywhere from 20 to 25 degrees between now and late Friday night and into Saturday. And really, it looks like those unseasonably cold temperatures can continue through at least Sunday, with a little bit of moderation by the time we get to Monday. So again, focus on the Saturday, Sunday, and into early Monday periods. So those temperatures may not look all that bad when you look at them, from a typical winter day or late fall day or something like that. But notice, for instance, in Spokane, we're expecting a high of 44 degrees, and in Sandpoint, 42. So if we go to the next chart, these are the these are the high temperatures that we're forecasting for Sunday. So you'll notice here, Spokane, we're expecting a high of 43. Across North Idaho, high temperatures right around 40 degrees. Let's get down Lewiston and Pullman, maybe around 50, at least for Lewiston. Pullman in the low to mid 40s. Same thing for Wenatchee, maybe a little warmer in the Columbia Basin. So what makes that unusual? I'll show you how unusual those temperatures are in a second. So this is the coldest day. This will be for Sunday afternoon. If we look at the low temperatures then for Sunday night into Monday morning, you will notice that just about all of the region is going to experience below freezing temperatures, with the exception of Lewiston, Moses Lake, maybe Wenatchee. So you can expect a widespread killing frost across much of the area, especially as you get north of the Highway 2 corridor or into North Idaho. So to put things in perspective, this is a chart of the coldest high temperatures we've ever seen in September. And remember, I said for Spokane, we're expecting a high of around 41 or 42 degrees. So we're only a couple degrees off of the coldest high temperatures we've ever seen for the whole month of September, not just for the date, but for the whole month. Some other locations where they may break the records would be Wenatchee. Certainly Sandpoint would be subject to break the records, Republic. So really this is an unusual, historically cold system for the end of September. We wouldn't expect to see temperatures this cold until we get to November typically. So this is how unusual this actually is. All right, so with the cold temperatures arriving, what else are we expecting? Well, we're going to get precipitation with this system as well. And obviously, if you mix cold temperatures with wet precipitation from any sort of storm system, you're going to obviously get some snow. Right now, we're looking at the heaviest snow to occur across the north central into northeast Washington and into the mountains of the Idaho Panhandle. This is likely going to impact Sherman Pass. It's going to impact Washington Pass here along Highway 20. Certainly, Lookout Pass or Mullen Pass along I-90 is going to be seeing significant snow. So that's really where we would expect the main impacts to be. Also, Stevens Pass is going to see snow as well. The question is, even though we're going to see snow, how easily is it going to accumulate? The ground temperatures are awfully warm. We're looking at ground temperatures generally in the 50s this time of year. So it's hard to say whether or not it's going to accumulate readily on the higher roads. That's the part we don't know for sure. We expect the snow to fall, and certainly when you get into areas away from blacktop like grassy surfaces or conifer-covered forests, those snow accumulations will be much easier. And we're actually expecting these areas in orange and red to see anywhere from 6 to 12 inches. Looks like it's possible. So that's highly, highly unusual for the end of September. We have issued winter storm watches for the northern third of Washington and most of the northern Idaho Panhandle. Again, mainly for the mountains is where we'd expect to see most of the snow. When we get into the valleys, the question is going to be a little bit tougher whether or not we can accumulate snow. We think our best chances right now would be from Sandpoint to Bonners Ferry. They could see 1 to 2 inches of snow with that best chance arriving likely late Saturday into Saturday night. That's when we'd expect the best chances. But really, from a winter weather or snow impact and winter driving conditions, we don't expect this to be a valley sort of threat. We would mainly expect to see it in the mountains. But it's something to watch for. So again, our confidence is high. We're going to see these snow amounts in the mountains a little bit less as you get into the valleys. You'll notice here, even for the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene area, we are expecting to see some snow. Whether or not it accumulates, I think, is rather questionable. But nonetheless, seeing snow in September is very unusual. And just how unusual is it? This is a chart of the record snowfalls that we've seen for the month of September for these areas in eastern Washington and North Idaho. So, for instance, we've only seen 1 day of measurable snow ever in the Spokane area, and that occurred in 1926 when we saw 1.4 inches of snow. Now, we don't expect to break that, but just the fact that we would see snow in September is highly unusual. There is a chance that we could break some of the snow records, especially for Priest River, where the current record is 1 inch. That's possible to break. And in Republic, we're forecasting near 2 inches, so we could break that one as well. As far as all the sites in eastern Washington and North Idaho go, these are the only ones that have recorded snow. All other sites in central, eastern Washington and North Idaho have not seen significant snow ever fall in the month of September. So that goes to show you how unusual of an event this is actually going to be. So it's kind of interesting from a meteorological standpoint. So we've touched on the cold. We've touched on the snow. One widespread effect that we are going to see is we're going to see a surge of colder air coming in via Alberta and British Columbia. So we're going to see some strong north to northeast winds occur as early as Friday night. But it looks like the strongest winds are going to occur on Saturday into Saturday night. What we're looking at here is this is the forecast for the wind gusts that we could potentially see for the Saturday and Saturday afternoon periods. And you will notice that we are seeing some widespread forecasts of anywhere from 40 to 50 miles per hour, especially as you go from Coeur d'Alene up to Bonners Ferry. So we highly anticipate that we're going to need to put out some wind products for it, whether it's going to be, well, we think we're going to have to issue a wind advisory when we get closer to this stage. So again, 40 to 50 miles per hour, you can expect to see some sort of impacts with that, whether it's trees being blown down, power lines being impacted, something like that. We would expect to see some sort of impacts from those strongest winds, especially across North Idaho. Those winds will also fan out into the Columbia Basin. So right here, this is showing winds of 30 to 35 miles per hour in Spokane. That's for downtown. I suspect as you get closer out toward us on the West Plains or higher portions of South Hill, you could easily see wind gusts 40 to 45 miles per hour. And again, those fan out onto the Columbia Basin. We'll also see some stronger winds coming out of the Okanagan Valley as well. So you add all these ingredients together, you got cold temperatures, you got the strong winds, you put it all together and we're looking at potentially dangerous wind chill values as well. So these are numbers that you would typically see in November, December, or January, but we're actually talking about late September. This is our coldest wind chill value forecast that we're looking at. Again, this is from late Saturday night into Sunday morning. We're looking at wind chill temperatures in the teens to 20s across much of the area. So it doesn't take a whole lot of thought to think that when we see conditions like that, we're looking at very dangerous conditions, certainly possible, especially if you're not prepared for those conditions. So, life-threatening, certainly possible if you're not ready for it. This could be life-threatening conditions when we see wind chills that cold across such a widespread area of the inland Northwest. So what are the impacts then? This is just the summary of the impacts we're expecting. So from the cold temperatures, outdoor enthusiasts such as hunters and backpackers should be prepared for these dangerous conditions. The freezing temperatures will impact gardeners and possibly freeze above ground irrigation and hoses, so we would expect to see widespread freezing conditions, especially with the coldest morning being Sunday night into Monday morning, so be prepared for that. From the wind, we're going to see power outages possible, especially from trees being blown down or power lines being blown down over the mountains of northeast Washington into North Idaho. For those people who are brave enough and aren't scared away by this forecast, if they're going to be out on the lakes, they're certainly going to see those strong winds, cold conditions. Certainly boats could be blowing around. We've seen dock damage before from a similar situation with strong northeast winds like this across northeast Washington, so I wouldn't rule that out. Again, down trees are certainly going to be possible with those strongest winds from Coeur d'Alene up to Sandpoint and Bonners Ferry. And as far as the snow goes, I would say the snow is going to be the least impactful or affect the least coverage of area. That's mainly going to be for the mountain passes. So again, if you have travel plans across the mountain passes, that's where we would expect to see the greatest issues, especially above 3,000 or 3,500 feet. So just in summary, this is the weather matrix impact or the overview. For the valleys, again, I don't expect that there's going to be huge travel concerns. If there were travel concerns, we're picking Sandpoint as the area for most likely concerns due to the potential of accumulating snow there, the winds, and the very dangerous cold temperatures that would occur for Bonners Ferry as well. Otherwise, for most of the valley locations, again, I think the main impact is going to be the winds and the cold temperatures. We did not color that as an impact because we don't think it's going to affect the infrastructure, with the small possibility of trees being blown down. If we look at the mountain passes then, here's what we're expecting. We think the greatest chance of seeing significant road closures or big winter impacts would be across Sherman Pass, which is along Highway 20 near Republic. But basically all the mountain passes across northern Washington and the northern half of the Idaho Panhandle will be impacted by the snow accumulation potential from Friday night through Saturday night, and then basically just remaining cold Sunday, Sunday night, and Monday. After that, it looks like the cold temperatures are going to retreat. I don't have a slide for it, but it looks like we're going to see temperatures warming up to similar values to what we're seeing today, which means more high temperatures entering into the 50s and 60s, and possibly some 70s as you get into southeastern Washington and down toward the Lewiston area, but that would be for the end of this week. So this is just a few days of bad winter-like weather, and hopefully it doesn't set the stage for the winter, but it just looks like this is a real anomalous situation that we're looking at. So that is all I have, and I will open it up for questions if anybody has anything.
I assume you'll just be sending these slides out soon?
Yes, we'll be sending the slides out soon. We're going to put a recording on YouTube so you can watch it all over again if you want to hear me or hear whatever. And yes, we'll be sending a hard copy of the slides out via email to the entire list.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, and stay tuned to the latest forecast from our office. Thanks.